In this video, we review the different licensing options available with Microsoft Entra ID. Hello everyone, I'm Travis and welcome to my channel. Entra ID is Microsoft's directory service for managing the identities used to access online services such as Microsoft 365 products and Azure. There are now a few options available, including free P1 and P2 and a new Entra ID Suite. Coming up, we'll review what each has to offer. Before that, please like, subscribe, and share with a friend. That helps others find this channel and is greatly appreciated. Check out my courses on hybrid identities with Windows AD and Entra ID, Azure Virtual Desktop, and Windows 365 and Intune management at udemy.com. The links are below, and thank you channel members, your support is appreciated. Initially, Entra ID licensing was fairly straightforward. We had a free version, Premium P1 and Premium P2. The Entra product family has grown and now provides many options beyond those three tiers. Entra ID is all about securing identities and access to online resources. The additional products greatly expand the functionality. But with that added functionality comes complexity. It can be confusing to identify what an organization needs to protect their users. Let's dig into the different Entra ID licensing tiers and options to see what features are available with each. We'll start with Entra ID Free. As the name implies, there's no charge for the free tier of Entra ID, but it has limited functionality and is intended for organizations that are just getting started. Any organization that deploys Microsoft Cloud services like Azure, Teams, or Exchange Online will get the free tier of Entra ID. With Entra ID Free, we can manage users and groups in Entra ID. We can also synchronize on-premises users to Entra ID with Entra Connect Sync. There's an option for self-service password management for cloud users, and it supports single sign-on across Azure and Microsoft Online apps. There's also basic reporting available. The free tier may work for organizations that are running a proof of concept, and it's the default for organizations that are just getting started with cloud services. But most will find the lack of features limiting. For example, it has basic reports, but those provide limited data. More comprehensive reports are available with the paid version. Also, the free tier supports user multi-factor authentication, or MFA, with security defaults. Security defaults are a set of pre-configured security settings enabled on all new Entra ID tenants. Security defaults require all users to register for MFA. It requires administrators to use MFA. It enforces user MFA when necessary, blocks legacy authentication protocols like IMAP and POP3, and protects privileged activities like accessing the Azure portal or Entra Admin Center by requiring MFA. These are all good settings to have on an Entra ID tenant. The issue is we only have the option to enable or disable security defaults. We can't modify security default settings individually. For that, we need conditional access policies that are only available in an Entra ID premium tier. Let's review Entra ID P1 next. This includes everything in the free tier. P1 is a good starting point for most production environments. If you're not sure what version you'll need, plan to start with P1 for all your users that use Microsoft Cloud services. I'll provide some comparison information coming up, but there are some notable items that come with P1 that you'll probably want a production environment to have. The first is conditional access policies. While security defaults may give you MFA, we don't have the ability to modify the settings. We can only enable or disable it. Conditional access gives us the ability to tune security settings on the tenant. For example, we can disable or enable legacy protocols, modify when users are prompted for MFA. We can set policies for different users, endpoints, and applications. Most organizations will outgrow security defaults and need that flexibility conditional access provides. P1 provides self-service password resets for cloud and on-premises users, as well as advanced group management like dynamic group membership. There's also more report options available with P1 compared to the free tier, and they come with a longer retention time. For example, the audit and sign-in logs are available for 7 days with a free tier and 30 days with P1. Next up is Entra ID P2. The P2 tier includes everything in the free and P1 tier. It also offers Entra ID protection for risk-based conditional access policy. Risk-based conditional access policies allow us to add dynamic conditions into conditional access policies. For example, if a user sign-in is reported as risky, maybe they've logged into home in the US in the morning and then an hour later from Europe, it's likely that login is at high risk. With a P1 license, we can get that information in a report and trigger an alert. With a P2 license and risk-based conditional access policies, we can force a password reset or take other steps to mitigate the risk automatically. A P2 license is also required to use Privileged Identity Management, or PIM. PIM is part of the Zero Trust framework and provides just-in-time and just enough access for elevated privileges. Traditionally, IT departments would give an administrator an account with elevated permissions for admin tasks. That does not support the Zero Trust principle of just enough and just-in-time permissions. With PIM, we can limit user access to elevated RBAC roles. We can make admins eligible for elevated roles, and they must activate those roles before they can use them. The significance is that the rights are elevated for a limited amount of time, and they must justify or even get approval for elevation of those rights. This whole process can be logged and audited. Say we had a consultant modifying Azure infrastructure. With PIM, we can give them elevated roles only when they're requested. We can also require justification and an approval before rights are elevated. Then we can limit the time the elevated roles are applied. P2 also provides additional security reports and more data collected in reports compared to P1. P2 adds additional identity protection options. A common path I've seen organizations take is to start with P1 and only deploy P2 once they see the need for the additional identity protection options P2 provides. However, PIM and risk-based conditional access both provide a strong case for P2. That brings us to the Microsoft Entra Suite. Unlike P1 and P2 that add functionality to each tier, Entra Suite is an add-on to P1 or P2, meaning you need P1 or P2 to use the suite. By the way, if you have P2, there is some special pricing available. You'll need to speak with Microsoft or your reseller for details on pricing. Entra ID Suite is a collection of 5 services that extend the functionality and security of Entra ID. Let's review each. By the way, the following information is high-level descriptions of the services included with Entra Suites. Let me know in the comments if you're interested in learning more about any one of them. The first is Entra Private Access. Private Access is intended to replace traditional client VPN solutions. It leverages a global secure access client. It uses proxies inside a private network to establish a connection between a client and an application. Next is Entra Internet Access. Internet Access is a web content filter. It uses a SaaS-based secure web gateway to protect users' devices and data from online threats. As organizations move to online and remote work, it becomes more difficult and costly to route all client internet traffic to a private network and then through a firewall for content filtering. Entra Internet Access works with conditional access policies and the global secure access client to enforce a web content filter policy on the client. Then we have ID protection. This provides the same risk-based conditional access policies and dynamic sign-in assessment as P2. Entra ID Suite also includes advanced ID governance options beyond what P1 and P2 offer. These options include entitlement management capabilities, lifecycle workflow, and an identity governance dashboard. And finally, the Entra Suite offers a face check in Verified ID. This is a premium feature for Entra Verified ID. As the name implies, this option provides a high assurance verification with facial matching. It works with the MS Authenticator app and the device camera to verify the user's identity. It's not bound to the local device like Windows Hello. The face information is stored in the cloud and processed with AI to verify the user's identity. These are all included in the suite, and there's also an option to purchase them separately as standalone products. But like many Microsoft licenses, there's a price benefit to purchasing the suite. On the screen is a summary of the features available with each. I have a link below to the Entra Suite announcement, as well as an in-depth comparison between the P1, P2, and Entra Suite. I hope that helps you better understand the difference between Entra ID P1, P2, and the Entra Suite. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.